Okay, hello, I'm Emily and I'd like to talk about some variations for the down-faced dog. Many people that I teach are very compacted in their wrists and very tight in their hand fascia, and it's hard to get the fingers spread enough for the down-faced dog to be done properly and safely. And if it's done badly, doing lots and lots of down-faced dog can actually further compact the wrist, which for people suffering from repetitive strain injury or carpal tunnel syndrome can actually make things worse rather than better. So I'd like to talk about some easy techniques to prevent yoga practice from harming wrists and indeed help the wrists to be more open. One thing I've done here is take a folded towel and I've put it, you could put it under one mat if you only have one mat, or you could, if you have got two yoga mats, you could fold a mat on top, or you could use your single mat doubled over so you've got the towel between two mats. I've got a ridge on the front of this towel, so I'm actually going to be having my fingers at a lower level than the heels of my hands. So if I take that position up, I'm pushing the base of my fingers, the roots of my fingers, down into the ground in front of the towel, and the heels of my hands are up on the edge of the towel, so that the roots of the fingers are lower than the heels of the hands. I've elevated the base of my wrist somewhat. So if I take up the position now of Adho Mukha Svanasana, from there, this is full body weight down into the roots of the fingers and allowing the wrist area to be much lighter, not so much weight being put through it. And this could be done throughout practice every time you reach the position of down-faced dog. If you haven't got a towel, or as a further exercise, what you can also do, if I take the towel out now, is take up your down-faced dog and then see if you can actually, just as an exercise, lift the heels of the hands right off the ground, so all your weight is in the roots of your fingers and your fingers are spreading out. You wouldn't hold this for very long, just a few breaths, and then very slowly place the heels of the hands back down. The distance between the thumb and little finger in the down-faced dog should be as wide as possible. If you play the piano, you're almost trying to reach an octave between your thumb and little finger, so you're trying to spread your fingers out as wide as possible away from each other. If you're tight in your shoulders, have a few degrees turn out. You certainly don't want to be turning out like this is too far, but a few degrees turn out would be a very good thing for the pose. If you have your hands neutrally facing forward, you'll actually probably be turning them in slightly like this. The elbows then will start to tip out, the shoulder blades will separate, and you'll be tightening your shoulders and your wrists, which is again not what we want to do. The other thing you can do to get more weight onto the inner edge of the hand is to be able to lift little fingers and ring fingers off the ground, which is what I'm doing now. So I've thrown all my weight onto the inside edge or radius edge of the hand, which is again what we want to achieve from this pose. So all of those exercises can be carried out whilst you're in your down-faced dog. And if you get too tired when you're in your down-faced dog, finally, and you can come down onto your knees, you can notice how the hands are still open and wide. My arms are still straight. I can bring my forehead to rest on the ground. I've got my bottom elevated and my hips pretty much above my knees. So the upper body is still in the position of down-faced dog. If you're coming back from a wrist injury or a bad case of RSI or carpal tunnel syndrome, then this is your variation of down-faced dog. And you could do this variation every single time you're expected to do a down-faced dog. Do make sure, however, that the hands are still very open, the palms are still flat, and your elbows are not bending like this. You're keeping your arms off the ground. The only part of your arms that touch the ground are your hands. Everything else is off the ground, elbows are straight, so your forehead rests on the ground, your palms rest on the ground, and your knees rest on the ground, and that's all. Having done all of those variations, again keeping the knees nice and wide, you could just rest out into child pose. Okay, that's it.
Excellent.
Did I say enough variations?